If you've ever watched friendships quietly disappear the moment you start healing, this conversation is going to hit home. Terraine calls it grief identity, that weird, real grief that shows up when you're not just losing people, you're losing the version of you that stayed small to keep everybody comfortable. We talk about the terrible 20s, anxious attachment, abandonment triggers, being ghosted without closure, and the moment you finally choose peace over loyalty to chaos, even when it costs you relationships, family, and the life you thought you were supposed to have. Welcome back to the Metamorphosis Project podcast. And tonight I have Terraine LeBeau from Behind the Shades podcast. I was on his podcast a few months ago. I'm going to be on again in a couple of months, and we've formed this friendship out of, just like, you follow me on Facebook, I follow you on Facebook, and I love what you do. Mental health, grief, putting it all out there, giving everybody else a platform to put it out there. So welcome to the show. Please tell us who you are, what you do, and we'll get into it.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, yes, we are best friends. So let's get that out of the way. And it's an honor for me to be on your show. So my name is Terraine. I am a grief identity coach in relationships. So that is personal, professional, or romantic. You can find me at www.behindtheshades.ca. And I'm here to help each and every one of you find peace, love, and happiness in all the right places, because God knows I spent more than half of my life finding it in all the wrong places. So
I was going to say,
I'm
you
happy to be
find
here.
all those things in all the wrong places too, right?
Absolutely. Just make sure that is before 11:59 p.m. because everything after that is trouble, okay?
So what brought you, so obviously there was a point in your life where you had to really deal with grief, or because most of the time in this space, when we start podcasts or a coaching business, it usually comes from a place that we were. So tell us about that time when that story of this was what happened and this is what drew me to start doing this as part of my mission, part of my passion.
Absolutely. So everyone who's ever had children or been around children, you hear about the terrible twos. Well, I had the terrible twenties, Tenya. Like that decade, thank God I survived it, because midway through it at 25, I was like, good Lord, is it going to get any better? And it just kept getting worse. So
Oh,
what I did is I had to figure out who I wanted to be, because I didn't know who I knew who I didn't want to be. So I was trying to just understand what it is to be a man in the world. I was trying to understand what it's like to be successful. I wanted to have children. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have all these things. Part of it is because society told me to, but part of it was like, I feel it inside of my bones that I have all this love to give and it's all bottled up. So how do I share it with the world? So I didn't realize that I was suffering from grief identity, because as I was starting to heal from the anxious attachment that I had, from the conditional love, because I had to be a straight A student. I had to be good in sports for my parents to validate me and to comfort me and to nurture me. I began to understand that I didn't want to be this person anymore. So what I did, and I don't recommend this, but if you're over the age of 20, I do. I went to older people and I said, help me. What makes you successful? Because I want a piece of that. And then I began to piece it from every single person. And I understood. So what I understood was the people around me, they're not going to be around for this journey, because they can't help me to become the man that I want to be. So I had to get rid of the anchors and I had to replace them for wind in my sails. So as I grew into the man I want to be post my 20s and my 30s, I was like, whew, God is good. Here I am, happy. at peace, and I'm sailing through life. But the most important thing I learned after coming out of it was the fact that I no longer had the shame and the guilt of getting rid of people that I grew up with. I traded quantity for quality, and those quality people showed me a different type of love that wasn't based on conditions, that wasn't
Right.
based on performance. It was based on me. So that's what I learned, and that's how I got here today.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned grief identity. What is grief identity?
So that is when we're grieving identity that either we're expecting to be, let's say mothers who are pregnant and they lose a child. They were expecting to be a mother for X amount of years, and now they're not a mother in person because they have a child in heaven.
Hmm.
Another one could be that I wanted to be married and I didn't get married. So there's the loss of that because that's anticipating an identity. So one that we normally lose is you are cool to your friends, but you're no longer cool,
Right.
right? You used to go clubbing, you used to go to the bars, you slept with
Yeah.
many women, many men, but now you're like, oh my God, I'd rather have a cold bed than a stranger in it. So that's another identity. Another one could be that if I were to stop being in a corporate job and I decided to coach people, if I started to be a podcaster, if I started to work for charities, I'm losing corporate terrain. Does coach terrain, does mentor terrain give me the same thrill? So that is grief identity. It's you losing an identity either by choice or by
Mhm.
chance or by consequence and becoming something else.
Okay. So it's like losing your letting go of your old self. And you do
Yes.
have to grieve those parts of you. And in this in the healing space, the energy space, the successful space, I have often heard that the more you heal, the more successful you become, the more that you pull away from, or the people that you used to hang out with pull away from you. Is that what you found as you were shifting from old to new terrain?
Yeah, because your spirit will irritate their demons, right?
Yeah.
Your success will bring out their failures. And that's exactly what I experienced because some people, and maybe you've gone through this and many others, is they don't want you to be better. Because if you're better, it's like you're holding up a mirror and showing their
Mhm.
insecurities, their
Right.
failures, right? So, what I found, especially in my 20s, the terrible 20s as I call it, is there was people dependent on me not being successful, right? Because the
Mhm.
farther away I was from success, the more of an opportunity they had to say, Train, let's go here, let's go
Right.
there, right? There was a
Right.
control thing. So that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah. Oh, I can so see that in so many different avenues. That's yeah. Um, so you have built this new terrain. You've navigated this new terrain. What was you got all of these, you went to all these older people to find out what it was that they did that made them successful. What part of what they told you did you adopt? And when you adopted it, did you adopt it as like they did it, or did you adopt it and go, this doesn't exactly work for me, but if I tweak this is what's going to work for me.
Well, I would say both. So the first one is they would tell me that you're going to lose people and you may feel lonely,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was something that was probably a little bit difficult for me to understand because I was always around people. Right? Like you mentioned
Right.
Facebook, right? We have hundreds, maybe even thousands of friends. That was like me in real life. I was
Yeah.
living real life Facebook. It was the metaverse before we even got the term, right? But they said that if you want to be this person, are you okay with the person you've known for 5, 10, 20 years not being around anymore?
Right.
That was like hurtful. I was like, oh my God, what if I'm,
Scary, isn't it? It's
it's scary,
scary.
right? The second thing is, there's a few things that they would share that I was like, I don't know if this is for me. So one of them would be find yourself a partner, get married before 30,
Mm,
right? Looking, and like
yeah.
10, 15 years ago, that was the thing. Like if you weren't married at 30,
I was married at 19.
right? Yeah, it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, what's wrong with you? You're never going to find someone. You're
Oh,
old at 30, right? So, but looking back, like when I was going through it, it was tough because I knew I wasn't ready and I would be
yeah.
doing a disservice with the woman that I would try to court at that time. But to be very honest with you, there's someone, I was 23, 24, we're expecting to get married, the person I was dating at that time, right? But as I began to do the change, I
Yeah.
was going left and she could no longer go left. So she had to go right. And as she went right, there's a cliff. And I was like, whew, I'm just going straight into the sunset at this
Right.
point, right? So you begin to see, and these decisions, Tanya, the beautiful thing about these decisions, you make one, you see people fall off. You make a second one, you see job changes. You make a third, you see family members no longer pick up your phone. So a lot of times when you make these changes, in my case, is some of the things would happen naturally and you don't have to do extra work, but some you would actually have to put your foot down and say, no,
Right.
I'm not going out and getting drunk Friday and Saturday because it doesn't help me become the person
Right.
I want to be, right?
Right. Yeah, and I don't know about you, but when that started happening for me, the it's you have these relationships with these people or these perceived relationships with all of these people and all these people who tend to like drop off without knowing, right? Just all of a sudden they don't call, they don't text, they don't message. I think those were the ones that made me feel more lonely than the ones that I had to say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Because there was no finality with those relationships. Did you find that as well?
Yeah, I needed the closure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me to F off, man. Like,
Right, right. Just
right?
right, right.
Yeah.
Don't just like ghost me. But
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
think
think that's why. Go, no, go ahead.
I was say, but I think that also brings up some more of those things in us that need to be addressed and need to be healed or worked on when we get frustrated or saddened by being ghosted. When if we can flip it around and go, oh, they did me a favor. I didn't have to put my foot down and potentially hurt somebody's feelings. They did me a favor and closed the door. So it took a while to see it that way, but it still doesn't make it hurt any less.
I called that back to like abandonment issues. I rather them
Yeah.
leave me than I leave them because it's easier, right?
Yep.
Because we're used to it.
Yep.
Right? Everyone leaves us, and it's heartbreaking because then it becomes your baseline. And I went through that a little bit because I struggled with people pleasing.
Yeah.
I was like, please don't leave me. I can change, even though they're causing me chaos, drama, and harm.
Right. Right.
Right?
Yep.
So I was like, please don't leave. So I used to do that. But to your point, the people that just left or just ghosted me without any closure, it did hurt because I wanted the closure. Like we joke, right? Just tell me F off. Tell me you hate me. Tell me you
Right.
wish I would get hit by a bus. At
Right.
least I know where I stand. Whereas in the other case, if it's not that way, I just don't know. But the people that I had to get rid of, that became easy. Like I was, how some people make that joke where I'm going on my love tour, I'm going on my, new girl era. I was going on my
Right.
revenge tour. Like it was strict vengeance. Everyone that I didn't like, I was like, I don't like you because of this. I don't like you because of that. I was bold and beautiful. Shout out to the soap opera. But that was me, right? I just I couldn't be stopped. Like once I entered my
Right.
30s, what could you have done to me that wasn't done to me in my 20s? My parents divorced. I had to move out. I was living on my own. My relationship ended. I had to leave my job because of the drama there. Every area, professional, personal, and romantic, the three relationships were all being impacted. I had nothing to lose, right? And
Yeah.
someone that is walking in the path of success with nothing to lose is a dangerous person because you can't impact them.
Right.
So that's what I learned, but I had to weather the storm to get there. So to your point, I had to live without the closure, but once I was able to overcome that, then it became easier. And I was like, thank God,
Hmm.
because I had a whole script ready to tell you on the phone. And you just saved me a new page. All I had to do is change the name and say it to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about how you got to the point where and what we had to deal with when you're shifting and moving forward and becoming successful. Tell me all the good things that transpired during this transformation. Because there has to be good stuff, or else you wouldn't have started the process in the first place.
Yeah, like one of the best things that ever came across is I ended up in the church. And I remember that vividly because I forget where I was, but I was having a conversation and I was like, you know what? I really want to get back into church. So I got back into church and then I was progressing and I ended up being able to give Bible readings and Bible talks in front of the entire congregation. And the hardest part was just making sure you don't trip up the stairs because once you trip up the stairs, that's it, right? You can read the Bible and they'll never forget that. That made me realize how much I love to speak and to help people. It probably was always there, but there was distractions, and then I couldn't hear the whisper because everything else was loud. But now that I got rid of the outside noise, I had the whisper of this, and then it grew, and then it
Mhm.
grew, and then I took that skill into work, and I would give speeches at work and have people crying because my goal was to focus on one person who's getting emotional and make sure that my words touch their heart. And then the pandemic hit. We all
Mm.
had time in the world, right?
Hmm.
I sat back and I was like, what if I can do this outside of my city, outside of my company, and just grab a microphone and do that? So, you know what I did, Tanya? At the gym, I went up to everyone. My name is Terraine. This is what I do. Do you want to be on my show? People were like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then I was like, no, this is my show. And I showed them a clip. So I started getting people on here. So the positive thing was it gave me the confidence to truly be who I knew I was supposed to be, but I was ignoring it for too long. And
Hmm.
when I did that now, I arrived here and I took that a step further. I was like, I want to be that example for the people. I started coaching women who've been abused, coaching women who've been financially abused, coaching women who've been emotionally abused. I went to the grief side, men who've lost their partners, men who've had lost their children. Did the same thing for women. So that's what sparked all of this because it's like when you go into that one side of your closet and you look and you open the door and you're like, oh my God, look at all these nice outfits from when I used to be slimmer. I was slimmer, no more emotional fat around me, no emotional baggage. So everything became beautiful. And that is why I share that because that is one of the most positive experiences I've ever had.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And now you're 5 years into your podcast?
3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah, yeah. So the idea is 5 years, but when I was able to do all of this was 2022.
Okay. And it's been pretty spectacular so far. You've had I was looking over your YouTube channel earlier, tons and tons of episodes, and it's just a labor of love.
Yeah, like I look at like from Facebook to YouTube to Spotify to Apple, everywhere that I am, I'm helping people tell their story because maybe you've gone through this, right? Like it wasn't easy for me to tell my story. I had to learn to be able to tell
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to tell it with this energy. Some people are younger than me, my age, or even older, and maybe they still don't have the energy, courage, or even the resource to do so, but I'm helping them do that. And that's another positive thing to add to your question that you asked is I was able to find my voice and now I'm helping other people find theirs. And that's a beautiful thing, especially in the world today.
It is. And it's so funny you say that because in our world there is so much talk about free speech and what we can talk about and what we can't talk about. And giving people a platform to share their stories, to share their grief, to share their love is a beautiful thing. And uh, there are thousands of podcasts out there. And it's like, and we want to, and a lot of them are geared towards specific genres, specific niches, or it's a comedy podcast, or it's a true crime podcast. But I really don't think that there are as many podcasts that allow the everyday person to come on and just share their story. And I think that is such a beautiful platform to have and to be able to provide for people. So thank you for giving people that opportunity. I'm sure that they are incredibly grateful for that as well.
Yeah, the pleasure's mine. I will 100% agree with you, right? Like, I don't know of many where you can go on there and just have a conversation like you and I are having about our trauma to triumph or our difficult situation. Like you mentioned, there's the free speech in a lot of countries in a lot, especially the Western side of the world. But how many people actually talk about what they're going through without the shame and the guilt?
Well, that's the thing is we've had so many generations of not talking about it. And now Gen X is stepping up and going, wait a minute, we need to talk about this. We need to bring this to the light. And because we're stepping up and going, hey, it's allowing the millennials and Gen Z, and I don't know who's after that. And then it's allowing generations going forward to step up and speak up. Um, I don't know what is coming across a lot of your feed, but for me, it's this parent-child estrangement is what's coming up a lot on my feed. Oprah did a podcast on it, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's like blown up, all over the place. But it's because of us now being feeling safe, right? The internet, as horrible as it can be sometimes, it has given our world a platform to be able to feel safe speaking up. Especially now with AI, you can use AI generated video. You don't even have to show your face anymore. And it's like people can voice their stories without, I want to say, without too much um lashback. But I also know that there are a lot of horrible people out there who troll and are not very nice. Um, but I think, you giving that platform for people, it's very healing to be able to tell your story.
I will agree. And you mentioned something when it comes to like estrangement between the parents and the child, right? Like before, decades ago, what would happen is the child would wait for the parents to get old and then ship them to the retirement home and never see them again. Right? And
Right.
that's absolutely zero closure. Now, at least they're able to talk it out, regardless if who's right or who's wrong. It's a conversation because you want to be able to fix it. And I can just imagine how painful it is to be estranged from your parent or your child, and then one of them is on their deathbed. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you guys have that connection because at that point, there isn't any coming back. And how many years
Right.
did you sacrifice for something that in a lot of ways is probably a misunderstanding or it's probably something that could have been resolved? So I think that's a fantastic topic and also ties into the grief identity because once you're estranged from your child or your parents, do
Mm-hmm.
you see them? Do you feel that, well, I'm a parent? There was a time where this one person, she was so estranged from her parents that she started calling them by their first name. She didn't use
Oh
mom
yeah.
or dad,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Now I wasn't estranged from my parents, but I would change the name of my mom in my phone. Whenever she called, whatever I had that label on my phone when she popped up was a reminder of how I needed to respond to her. because of the relationship we had. And there wasn't there wasn't an opportunity to heal it the way I would have liked to for several reasons. But I wish that I had been able to heal it before she passed. Because you're right, because now there is no way to heal it on a conscious level. Luckily, I can still do it on a subconscious level, but that's a whole
Yeah.
nother rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well,
um,
and plus you can always like if you have like I don't know if you're a spiritual religious person, but you can always have conversations and feel that you're speaking to her and saying that,
oh
you know
yeah,
what, mom,
absolutely.
yeah, these are
Yep.
all the things I wish I could say to your face, but I'm saying it to your spirit, to your essence, to your whatever, right?
I told someone once that now that she has passed, I can have that relationship with her that I always wanted. Because there are no barriers, there are no egos getting in the way of what I experienced growing up. Right? Because that was just one of the things was there wasn't any responsibility taken for how I felt when I was growing up. And so that's why that relationship couldn't heal the way that I would have liked to. I would have loved to have been close to my mom. I think every child dreams of being close to their parents. But because we all go through our own traumas, we all have our own stories, it's not always possible.
100%,
So, yeah.
100%.
That's one thing that me and a friend were talking about was we were talking about the estrangement and just how there are so many different reasons and facets to those relationships, as there is with the relationship with yourself. There's so many different facets of of us. There's different aspects of us that we have to let go of or invite in so that we can grow and expand.
Yeah, and I'll give an example since you shared that. When I grew up with my mother or my father, I was very upset at that. Um, because my grandmother, who I truly love so much because she was there for me, you begin to realize when I was reunited, I shouldn't be with these people because I felt that they weren't worthy of me now because this other person was there for me. So it took me a long time to overcome that. And I made a decision and I asked myself, Terraine, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Mm-hmm.
Because carrying
Right.
that rage, that pain, I was not happy carrying it because when I would see them, it would remind me of it. When I wasn't around them, I'm the happiest person in the world. When they would come around, I would be like, why did they abandon me? I would have these questions. So I
Mm-hmm.
made a conscious effort to try to repair that. Now, it worked better with my mother than with my father. My father didn't want to have that type of relationship, right? And that's the thing. Sometimes there's one part of the
Yeah.
equation that doesn't want the relationship that you're trying to seek out.
Yep.
The painful thing is when it's the child chasing after the parents, because
Right.
it is the parents' responsibility to strengthen that relationship because that's what they chose. Whereas the child didn't choose their parents or choose to be born. So, what I learned from that equation was this is the type of relationship he wants. He wants to be more of an acquaintance, maybe a friendship. He doesn't want a father son
Yeah.
relationship. And I think that's something that is hard to accept, but we have to accept because
You do.
I grieve that. I grieve not having a close relationship with my father, and he's still alive, where yours is passed on, and maybe you grieve that too. But what the alternative is, we're going to continue to pour and pour and pour into a cup that has a hole in it, and it's never going
Right.
to be filled.
Yeah. You have to, we wind up having to grieve for the parents that we wish we had. And when we can do that, and sometimes you have to do it several times. Because there are so many layers to a parent-child relationship. But when it comes to just family in general, that is, I think, that is a lot of relationships that are very complex. It's not always just the parent-child. Sometimes it's siblings. Sometimes it's grandson and grandparent. Sometimes it's, cousins or whatever. But that we have to, as we go through these relationships and these changes in these relationships, we also start to notice the programming that has been indoctrinated on us, right? Like family is everything. When you get to be an adult and those relationships start to break down because we're healing, we're growing, we're becoming more successful, you start to understand that that's not that's not true for everybody. And that, when your dad decided that he wanted to be more of an acquaintance, or you realized that he wanted to be more of an acquaintance, that was that moment, I think, for you that was saying, yeah, family's not everything. It's something, but it's not everything. And yeah, I would rather be happy than be right. And then you have to start that grieving process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, don't look for a father or mother figure in other people.
Right.
You're gonna run
Right.
yourself into trouble,
Yeah.
right? Right. Please, someone be my daddy and be my mommy, right? Then you're gonna go into codependency and things like that. But you're absolutely right because I fully realize the type of relationship we had is when he loves soccer. So I thought to myself, okay, let me get season tickets to the soccer games
Yeah.
here. That cost me almost $4,000 every year, and I did that for 2 years,
Wow.
right? And he showed up to zero games. And this is
Wow.
something for him, right? Because there's always an excuse. I'm sick. There's always, and I'm
Right.
not here to bash him. I'm here to say that, well, I am here to bash him, but I'm here to say that this is the reality because sometimes we don't see the emotional scars every day, but we do see the empty wallet every
Right.
day because when you go to pay for something, like, oh my God, I don't have money today because of this.
Yeah.
But the damage, the abandonment, the emotional abuse, the
You don't see all that.
neglect,
Yep.
you don't see all that, right? Because you feel it on certain days, but you don't. It's not like I've gained COVID 15 and I've gained 15 pounds and I can't
Right.
fit into my size 28s anymore, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit different. So it's hard to accept, but it's necessary to accept because if you don't identify behaviors of people, what you're going to do is you're always going to be loyal to the mistreatment because it's
Hmm.
all you've known. So when you see your friends mistreating you, when you see your relationships mistreating you, you're going to think it's normal. And then what happens when you finally see peace and you see it and there's a good person who wants to treat you right, you're going to self-sabotage
Right.
because you don't know it. It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It's scary.
Yeah. But now you're doing great. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I feel like a billion dollars with inflation.
Yeah.
I'm catnip out here. Yeah, I'm living. I love the life I had, and sometimes I look back and we were talking about like how I came up in it. If I have to go through every single part of that to be the person I am today, I would do it 1,000 times because the man that
100%.
I am today, I love me. I know how I want to be loved. I show myself that type of love. I surround people with that type of love. Let me tell you, when you wake up and you don't have chaos and drama in your life, that's a
Yes.
new type of love.
It really is. It really is. And that's only something that I have just recently been able to experience. And really in the past probably 3 weeks. This has been very new for me because what was causing chaos in my life is no longer there. And I didn't realize that that chaos was there until it was gone.
Isn't that a beautiful feeling?
It is. It is. It's very liberating, but there's still a part of me that is going, oh, but am I missing something? Is the other shoe gonna drop? I've been on this healing journey for
5 years. So I just had yesterday was my 5 year anniversary of not being on antidepressants. So it was,
Congratulations.
thank you. Um, and yesterday I realized that, it's not the first time in the last 5 years that I haven't felt this good, but just in the probably the last 8 months when my mom started getting sick to about a month ago. There was just chaos, chaos, chaos. Um, and it's such a, and someone once asked me, "Do you have any regrets?" And I'm like, "No, even for the challenges. I can't have any regrets because if I had regrets and I could go back and change something, my life wouldn't be as wonderful as it is now. It wouldn't be as spectacular and as abundant as it is now." You're coming from that space. You understand that, yeah, we go through challenges, but when you can look back at your life and look at your present life, look in this present moment and go, gosh, I may have dirty dishes in the sink, but I have dirty dishes in the sink. Like I have a sink to put dirty dishes in. That's really cool.
From rage to riches, right?
Yeah,
That's, you have dishes. We have dishes. We have a sink. We have a sink in a house, right? And that's the beautiful thing about, like, we can't, what happens sometimes is we think that, okay, I want the life I have right now, but I'm going to change all these things in the past and expect to get the same life. It
right,
doesn't work that way,
right.
right? You had to fall to get up again. You had to trip to catch yourself. You had to walk before you could run. And that's why our past is like a letter to our future self saying that conquer these things and you will be great. Some people can't and they
Right.
struggle. Some people flourish. We spend a lot of time in survival mode, right? Trying to make it
Mhm.
work, but you can get into the thrive. How are you doing today? So when someone asks me, to your point, how do you feel? I feel great today
Yeah,
because of these reasons. And the reasons that I feel great today maybe weren't even a part of my life. Maybe I wasn't even thinking it. It wasn't even on my radar. But now, as you mentioned, you can pinpoint people and say, you have to go. I don't
yeah,
hate you. I
yeah.
may still even like you,
Right.
but I need this journey and you can't be a part of this journey anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they want to be a part of the journey, then they've got to start doing their thing, right? They've got to start shifting and growing and advancing. They can't stay in the same place. It
Yeah, like
doesn't
I'll
work
give you
that way.
I used to date this girl and this was a number of years ago. And she would share these stories about her friends and there's always this drama. And one day I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna have this conversation. So I told her, I asked her this question, do you realize the only time I hear drama is from you? She's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I don't have it with my friends. I don't watch it on TV. I don't have it at work. But you, when you share these stories about drama, I was like, if it truly bothers you so much, why don't you move on from it?
Hmm.
And she couldn't. When the relationship ended, she went right back to the drama. Some people, it's hard for them to let go because maybe, and I know I went through this when I had to discover myself, maybe we don't feel worthy or valuable enough to sit at the table of healed people.
Yeah.
Maybe this table right here with the drama and the chaos, we're so used to it. Our stock has fallen so much. This is how we appraise ourselves by the people that's causing us chaos. But when you look at the table with healthy people, successful people, the people with dishes in their sink and a sink in
Right.
their house, we're like, I can't sit at that table because I only have a fork and a spoon. I don't even have plates.
Right.
I definitely don't have a sink, right? So I think that's where the struggle for a lot of people is because they see maybe a Terraine, maybe a Tenya. They see people like you and I, and they're like, their life is amazing. I just don't think I can put in the work to get there
Yeah.
because they don't think they're worthy of the path, of the
Yeah.
journey.
So true. So true. Terraine, thank you so much for coming on. What is 1 or 2 nuggets that you want to leave the listeners with?
Yes, so I'm going to give you guys two. The first one is you are worthy. You are valuable. Create the value within yourself. It shouldn't come from other people. The second thing is you may have people around you that is bringing down your value. Comfort brings down your value. If you're not growing, if you're not finding different ways to be valuable, there's a good chance that your value is being suppressed. So analyze your circle, figure out who is not building you up, and maybe it's time to put some distance between yourself and that person. Your future self will love you for the decisions you're making today.
Awesome. Terraine, thank you again.
Thank you. It is always a pleasure, my new best friend.
Oh, and tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, so you can find me at www.behindtheshades.ca. All my information is there. If you mention this podcast or the lovely Tenya, you get 1 hour free of coaching. So please take advantage of that offer. Or you can email me at behindtheshadesinterviews@gmail.com.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Have a great listen, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.